If you have any questions on money matters, the man who's best placed to address them is not me. I haven't a clue about money. It is Tommy Corbett from Carey Corbett Financial Solutions. Tommy, good morning to you, and welcome for the first time in 2026.
Yeah, good morning. Happy New Year, all that. And don't be underselling yourself, Alan. I'm sure
I'm an expert at telling people how to blow their money, but I don't know if that's the kind of advice they're seeking. You are here, an appropriate, I suppose, topic to start the year with, planning for your future. And of course, we're 7 days into the auto enrolment pension scheme as well.
Correct. Yeah, I suppose normally when we're talking about planning, we look at kind of budgeting and that kind of stuff when we have a chat here. I suppose what we're kind of looking at today really is financial planning and cash flow modelling, and that's basically where people may have goals and aspirations into the future, whether that's maybe to retire early or put their kids through college, or maybe when they turn 60 go on that dream holiday, whatever it may be. And I suppose it's really about putting a little bit of science behind these goals and aspirations, and a kind of a model as to see whether they're actually aspirations or whether they're dreams, really, you know what I mean? And it's a thing that has come in, I suppose, to our industry over the last kind of, I suppose, 5 to 10 years, the whole idea of financial planning and cash flow modelling. And basically what it's doing is it's quantifying what you want to do into the future.
Okay, so where do we start with advice on this? Turning goals into quantified time-phased plan is as good a start as any. Yeah.
So what it does basically, it shows when your money is coming in, whether it is now or in retirement, and where it's going to go and how it's going to be used and how best to use it in order to achieve the goals you have. It probably creates clarity on, can I afford it? So you might look at, listen, I'd like to change my car every 3 years. I might like to change house. But
is that realistic?
Yeah, is that realistic in 5 years' time? My kids going to college in 5-10 years' time. I'd like to retire early, as we said already. So it kind of creates clarity around those kind of things. In relation to retirement planning, it becomes evidence-based, in relation to lifestyle, timing and longevity. So a lot of people will say, right, I'm going to retire at 65 and I'll need a pot of X amount when I retire. But what does that actually mean? What does it mean in relation to what kind of income you have out of that pot? It'll take into account things like inflation. It'll take into account things like what you want to do in retirement. So, we all have, I suppose, dreams of retiring early and maybe going travelling the world and that kind of stuff. But they only are dreams unless you kind of can put a plan together.
Yeah, and you mentioned inflation there, and I guess part of this planning, it highlights inflation and market risk as well, which maybe they're more to the foreground than the background.
Yeah, well, I suppose certainly in the last couple of years we've seen the effects of inflation and what it has done in relation to the erosion of pensions and, I suppose, savings. And again, if you're kind of looking into the future, you need to kind of put these things into any kind of model that you're looking at. And also, things like market risks, market corrections, market crashes. And again, a good portfolio model will actually take these things into account. And again, look at maybe inflation spikes, market falls, and just to see how fragile or resilient your plan is.
Yeah, and I guess if you've got kids as well, part of a lot of planning is always needed for them, not for their future. Part of that is their future education. And how does planning for your future help in that regard?
Yeah, so again, this is something we've often talked to in the past, that, you're better off to look forward and plan rather than look back and regret. So education funding is typically lumpy and time bound. So again, modelling shows whether cash reserves and investments can meet those expenses that you will come up against into the future. And it'll take into account things like whether you're going to live at home, live outside of Dublin or live in Dublin, and all those things are taken into account in relation to modelling a cash flow projection.
Okay, what else? What are the other benefits of planning for your future?
Yeah, one of the big things that I suppose we're seeing at the moment is estate planning, and it's probably something we might do a slot on at some stage. And what I mean by that is, I suppose, asset values are tending to go up. Savings values are going up. A lot of families now may have not just one but maybe two properties, and at the same time family sizes have come down. So what we're seeing, I suppose, definitely in the last year or two, is a lot of families are actually going over their threshold in relation to their inheritance tax. So if you want to gift, or if a son or daughter wants to inherit from a mother or father, there's a threshold there of 400,000, and a lot of the time it's actually going over that, and there's 33% CAT capital acquisition tax on that. And again, this cash flow modelling can look at that. It can kind of project into the future what asset values will be, what levels of savings you are, and it can also kind of, I suppose, account for that, but also maybe look at whether you should be passing those assets on now while their values are less. Maybe taking into account things like the annual small gift exemption, where you're gradually maybe transferring assets to family over a number of years rather than waiting till you pass away.
Okay, what if resilience, and how does the future planning help build that or bolster it?
So again, you can have the best plans in the world, and they may all look to be great, and retire early, put your kids through college, change the house, change the car, all that kind of stuff. But so what any plan should have, it should have a few what if scenarios. In other words, what if I were to lose my income due to illness or injury? What if, God forbid, one of the main earners in the house were to die? And again, you were putting plans in place that if these things happen, that the plan is resilient enough to actually withstand these things. So you'll be looking at things like income protection plans, you'll be looking at life insurance, you'll be looking at things like serious illness cover, all that kind of stuff. So those what if scenarios would need to be built into any plan like that.
And I guess, Tommy, if you're planning for the future and you have a fully considered plan on your whiteboard, you can get the full picture in front of yourself, and that doesn't mean it's set in stone. That we're just talking there about what ifs. If and when what ifs happen, you can readjust or retweak your plan, because at least you can see the overall picture and where to make implement the changes.
Correct. Yeah, life isn't straightforward. Some people change jobs, change career, lose jobs. Become sick, as I said. So it is very important that any plan is reviewed and adjusted as your circumstances change. One thing I would say about financial planning and cash flow modelling, it's very scientific. Unlike life is not scientific, and that is why regular meetings and regular reviews are very, very important in relation to that as your circumstances change, the plans can change as well.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Tommy, thank you very much for that advice. I just want to finish by talking about sporting matters. A good start to the year for Clare with victory over Limerick, and we were chatting about it with Derek and Sil on Monday. Entertaining game, high scoring game, dramatic finish. We heard from Brian Lowen, it's I guess the general gist of what he was saying was not the be all and end all, but it was a game against big rivals. Nice to win it.
Yeah, listen, it was a nice workout. The lads have put in a good block of training for the last kind of 5 weeks. So it's nice to get a run out. Challenge games are challenge games, no matter what way you approach them. So even though it's only the Munster League or
it's a competitive game.
It's a competitive game, and particularly for new lads on the panel, it kind of gets them used to the setup in relation to how to prepare, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a good run out on Saturday. Good to get the win, as you said. Not the be all and end all of everything. It was the 3rd of January at the end of the day.
Cold day.
Cold day, but I do, looking back on it, I suppose when you're at the game and you're kind of trying to analyse things, you don't realise whether it's an entertaining game or not. But looking back on it, it was a good game, I suppose, for supporters to go and enjoy. Playing Cork now on next Monday evening, so that'll be a different test again, but looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll be able to have a look at a few more lads in it for that game. These games are there to kind of, I suppose, give lads a run out, particularly if they've put in a good block of training like they have, and it's been a good start to the year anyway.
Yeah, look, as you say, you give lads a run out, you'll see what new faces look like in competitive action, and whilst again it's not the be all and end all, if good result against Cork and then the final on the 17th, it's silverware, it's there to be won, might as well win it. It all helps towards overall confidence come league and championship.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, you want to go out and win every game, whether that's a challenge game, an internal game of training, or whatever it may be. So, and the Munster League is no different. Obviously you have to balance that with looking at new faces and making sure the lads get runs and that kind of thing. So winning isn't everything, but it is nice to win at the same time. Yeah, we'd love to win next Monday and get into a final, but as I said, it's not to be all and end all of everything. We've bigger tests ahead.
Yeah, and just finally on that, when Brian was in with me just before Christmas talking about the league campaign, it's 1B obviously. That means that Clare will be the big fish in the pond, so to speak, and there won't be any room for complacency there because Dublin coming to Ennis and then a trip to Antrim, and there's the Davy Fitzgerald element there, of course. There's going to be all the rest of the teams in that division are going to want to show where they're at by taking the scalps of a team that won the All-Ireland only the year before last.
Yeah, and I suppose last year, when we went out in the league, so we had a target on our back, being All-Ireland champions. Yeah. And that, I suppose, there was a little bit of responsibility in relation to that, and there is a bit of responsibility, I suppose. We're playing 1B, we want to come back up to the first division, to the top division, and there's going to be no easy game there, like you said. Dublin are coming, the first day to Cusack Park. We all saw what they did against Limerick last year and what they're capable of doing, and then the trip to Antrim then after that. But realistically, we're not looking any further than the Dublin game, but looking forward to it at the same time. Hopefully we'll have good support in Cusack Park, and it's great to be back hurling.
See, there you go. Tommy's not just helping you plan for your financial future, he's helping to plan for Clare's hurling future as well. We all wish you success in that, and Brian and the team. Tommy, thank you very much for being with us, and
Thanks,
we'll chat to you again in a couple of weeks. Tommy Corbett there from Carey Corbett Financial Solutions. If you ever have questions for Tommy, do send them in to 086 1800 964.